When protocol meets plasma cannons, Captain Alina Vasquez stood. In the equipment bay of the Earth Defense Force cruiser, New Horizons, staring at the most confusing mission briefing she had received in her 15-year military career, the holographic display showed only 3 lines of text that made absolutely no sense together. The first line read, "Attend Royal Wedding Ceremony, Planet Zenthros." The second, "Represent Earth's military excellence." The third, which made her eyebrows furrow. In confusion, formal attire required interpret as necessary. Alina ran her fingers through her short black hair and sighed deeply. She had led assault teams through asteroid fields, designed defensive systems for colony worlds, and even negotiated prisoner exchanges with hostile alien factions. But attending a wedding, that was definitely not in her skill set. "Computer, display additional mission parameters," she commanded, hoping for clarification that never came. The AI's response was typically unhelpful. No additional parameters available. Mission briefing complete. Lena's communication device chirped with an incoming message from Admiral Harrison. His weathered face appeared on the small screen, wearing his characteristic expression of barely contained amusement. "Captain Vasquez, I trust you've reviewed your assignment," he said without preamble. "Sir, with respect, this briefing is incomplete. What exactly am I supposed to do at this wedding? What constitutes appropriate formal attire for an alien royal ceremony?" Alina tried to keep the frustration out of her voice. Admiral Harrison's smile widened slightly. "Captain, you're overthinking this? The Zenthari Empire specifically requested our most distinguished military representative. That's you. As for attire, use your best judgment. You leave in 2 hours." The connection terminated before Alina could voice any of her dozen follow-up questions. She stood alone in the equipment bay, surrounded by enough firepower to level a small city, trying to figure out how to dress for a wedding on a planet she had never visited. Alina accessed the cultural database for information about the Zenthari Empire. What she found was both fascinating and concerning. The Zenthari were an ancient civilization known for their crystal-based technology and elaborate ceremonial traditions. They valued honor, strength, and what their texts called authentic presentation of one's true nature. The concerning part was the security assessment. The Zenthari homeworld was currently experiencing political tensions between traditional isolationists and progressive factions supporting increased galactic cooperation. The royal wedding between Crown Prince Kale of Zenthros and Princess Lyra of the neighboring Stellan Confederation was seen as a crucial step toward broader interspecies alliance. Alina made her decision with the pragmatic logic that had served her well throughout her career. If the mission required her to represent Earth's military excellence while attending a potentially volatile political event, she would do both simultaneously. 30 minutes later, she stood fully encased in her Mark VII tactical exoskeleton, a masterpiece of human engineering that had been her constant companion through countless missions. The midnight blue armor plates gleamed under the bay lights, each segment packed with defensive systems, tactical sensors, and enough computational power to coordinate a small fleet. The exoskeleton enhanced her natural strength by a factor of 8 and could survive everything from plasma blasts to the vacuum of space. More importantly, its adaptive camouflage system and diplomatic translation matrix would help her navigate unfamiliar cultural situations. As Alina performed final system checks, her engineering mind appreciated the armor's elegant design. Fusion core hummed quietly in her chest plate, powering systems that most aliens would consider impossible to miniaturize. The helmet's heads-up display ran through diagnostic sequences, confirming that every sensor, weapon, and defensive system was operating at peak efficiency. "This is either brilliant or completely insane," she muttered to herself as she boarded the diplomatic shuttle that would take her to Zenthros. The journey through hyperspace gave Alina time to study what little information was available about Zenthari wedding customs. Apparently, the ceremonies involved complex crystal resonance patterns, symbolic exchanges of energy matrices, and something called the harmony of spheres that her translation software couldn't fully interpret. What worried her most was a footnote mentioning that Zenthari culture placed enormous importance on reading the spiritual aura of wedding guests. According to their beliefs, energy signatures of those present during the ceremony could influence the couple's future together. Alina hoped her armor's fusion core wouldn't accidentally curse the royal marriage. The shuttle dropped out of hyperspace near Thunderous, revealing a planet that took Alina's breath away. The world's surface was covered in massive crystal formations that caught and refracted the light of its twin suns, creating aurora-like displays across the continents. Cities appeared to grow organically from these crystal structures, their spires reaching toward space in geometries that seemed to defy physics. The capital city, where the wedding would take place, was built around a natural crystal formation, so large it was visible from orbit. The shuttle pilot, a nervously chattering alien named Tikavar, provided commentary as they descended. First time seeing Zenthro's human captain? Very beautiful, yes. Crystal formations are alive in a sense. They grow, they sing, they remember. Zenthari say the crystals hold the memory of their entire civilization. Alina watched the magnificent landscape scroll past her helmet's display. Remarkable. How do the crystals interface with their technology? Not interface, Captain, or technology. Zenthari grow their computers, breed their vehicles, sing their buildings into existence. Very different from human methods, yes. The shuttle touched down on a landing platform that appeared to be carved from a single enormous crystal. Lanus, Armor Systems immediately began analyzing the local environment, cataloging atmospheric composition, gravity variations, and potential threats. Everything registered as safe, if completely unlike anything in human space. A welcoming committee waited on the platform, consisting of 7 tall, graceful beings wearing flowing robes that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Lanus first. Glimpse of the Zenthari was awe-inspiring. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with pale blue skin that held an almost translucent quality. Their elongated faces featured large, luminous eyes that shifted color like opals, and their movements had a fluid grace that suggested they were accustomed to low gravity. As Alina stepped from the shuttle, her armor's weight distribution system automatically adjusted to Zenthros' slightly lighter gravity. The mechanical whir of servos and the soft hum of her fusion core seemed unnaturally loud in the crystal-clear air. The lead Zenthari, distinguished by more elaborate robes and what appeared to be a crown of living crystal, approached Alina with measured steps. When he spoke, his voice carried a musical quality that Alina's translation matrix struggled to render properly. Welcome, honored representative of Earth. I am High Counselor HFY, guardian of the royal protocols. We are surprised by your formal presentation. Alina activated her external speakers and responded with the diplomatic courtesy protocols she had memorized during the flight. Hi, Counselor. I am Captain Alina Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. I come bearing the good wishes of my people for the royal couple's happiness and prosperity. The other Zenthari exchanged glances that Alina's social analysis software interpreted. As confusion mixed with fascination, High Counselor HFY stepped closer, his opalescent eyes studying her armor with obvious interest. Captain Vasquez, your attire is most ... impressive. We had expected the usual diplomatic robes worn by most off-world guests. This appears to be functional military equipment of considerable sophistication. Alina felt a moment of uncertainty that she made a terrible mistake. Her mission briefing had specifically mentioned representing Earth's military excellence. The cultural database had emphasized authentic presentation. Still, she could see how showing up to a wedding in full combat armor might be misinterpreted. Counselor, I understood that Zenthari culture values authentic representation of one's true nature. I am a soldier, an engineer. This armor represents both my profession and my people's technological capabilities. HFY's expression shifted to what Alina hoped was approval. Indeed, honesty in presentation is highly valued among our people. Your choice shows courage and respect for our traditions, even if unconventional by galactic standards. The welcoming committee led Alina through the Crystal City toward the ceremonial center, where the wedding would take place. As they walked, she marveled at the architecture around her. Buildings seemed to grow organically from the ground, their crystal walls pulsing with soft bioluminescent patterns. Streets were carved channels that directed flow of both foot traffic, and what appeared to be streams of liquid light Citizens of the Crystal City paused to watch their procession pass. Alina noticed that her armor drew intense curiosity rather than fear. Children pointed excitedly at her helmet's optical array, while adults whispered among themselves in musical tones her translator couldn't quite capture. Captain High Counselor HFY said, as they approached a massive crystal cathedral. There is something you should know about today's ceremony. According to our oldest traditions, the spiritual energy of all wedding guests becomes part of the couple's bond. Your presence here, especially in such distinctive attire, will be interpreted as highly significant. Elena's engineering mind immediately focused on the potential implications. Significant how, High Counselor? That remains to be seen. Crystal ceremonies respond to the unique energy patterns of those present. Your armor's power signature is unlike anything we have encountered. The results could be ... interesting. Before Alina could ask for clarification, they arrived at the cathedral entrance. The structure defied easy description. Imagine a mountain-sized crystal formation carved into chambers and corridors that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Light entered through the crystal walls from impossible angles, creating an internal environment that felt more like standing inside a rainbow than any building Alina had ever seen. The ceremony was already beginning as they entered the main chamber. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled crystalline seats that grew from the floor in organic formations. At the center of the space, 2 figures stood before an altar that appeared to be carved from pure starlight. Crown Prince Kale was tall even by Zenthari standards, his crystal crown reflecting light and complex patterns that seemed to tell a story with each flash. Princess Lyra of the Stellan Confederation was equally magnificent, her golden skin marked with intricate tattoos that moved and shifted like living art. Alina was guided to a place of honor near the front of the ceremony, where her armored presence drew immediate attention from the assembled guests. She activated her armor's formal stance protocol, standing at attention with her helmet retracted to show proper respect. The wedding officiant, an ancient Zenthari whose crystalline crown had grown into elaborate formations around his head, began the ceremony with harmonics that made Elena's bones vibrate. As the ritual progressed, Elena noticed something strange happening with her armor's systems. The fusion core, normally a steady background hum, began to pulse in rhythm with the ceremony's crystal harmonics. Her tactical displays showed energy patterns she had never seen before, as if her armor was responding to some signal in the crystal cathedral itself. When the moment came for the couple to exchange their vows, something extraordinary happened. The massive crystal altar began to glow with increasing intensity, fed by the energy of the assembled guests. But Elena's armor was contributing something unique to the pattern. The fusion core's emissions were creating interference patterns that amplified and focused the crystal's natural resonance. The effect was spectacular. Light erupted from the altar in geometric patterns that filled the entire cathedral, creating a 3-dimensional mandala of impossible beauty. The assembled guests gasped in wonder as the light show reached its crescendo, with Elena's armor at the center of energy, patterns that seemed to rewrite the laws of physics. Prince Kale and Princess Lyra stood bathed in this impossible radiance, their own energy patterns intertwining in ways that made Elena's quantum sensors register readings that shouldn't exist. The ceremony had become something far more than a simple wedding. It was a fundamental joining of 2 beings at the subatomic level. As the light show gradually faded, Alina realized that every eye in the cathedral was focused on her. The wedding officiant approached with an expression of profound. "Captain Vasquez," he said, his voice carrying throughout the crystal space. "Your presence has created something unprecedented. The harmony achieved today has not been seen in our recorded history. You have given the royal couple a bond that transcends normal physical limitations." Alina felt a moment of panic. Had she accidentally interfered with an alien religious ceremony? "Your Honor, I apologize if my equipment caused any disruption to the proceedings." The officiant's expression shifted to what Alina hoped was amusement. "Disruption, Captain? You have provided the greatest wedding gift in our civilization's history. The energy patterns created by your armor's interaction with our crystal matrix have forged a connection between the prince and princess that will endure beyond death itself." Prince Kale approached Alina, his earlier formal demeanor replaced by genuine warmth. Captain Vasquez, your presence here today has exceeded every expectation. Will you accept our invitation to remain as honored guest at the celebration feast? Alina looked around at the assembled aliens, all watching her with expressions of wonder and respect. Her mission briefing had said to represent Earth's military excellence, and apparently she had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. Your Highness, I would be honored to attend, she replied, thinking that Admiral Harrison would never believe her mission report. As the ceremony concluded and guests began moving toward the celebration chambers, Alina reflected on the strange turns her career had taken. She had come to Zenthros expecting to awkwardly endure a diplomatic obligation. Instead, she had apparently become part of galactic history. The celebration feast would bring new challenges and revelations. But Alina Vasquez faced them with the same pragmatic courage that had carried her through 15 years of military service. After all, how much more complicated could an alien wedding reception be? She would soon find out that the universe had a sense of humor about such questions. From soldier to symbol, the celebration feast following the royal wedding was unlike anything Alina had experienced in her 15 years of military service. The banquet hall existed within a massive crystal formation that seemed to shift and grow around them, creating new chambers and alcoves as more guests arrived. Tables materialized from the living crystal floor, while bioluminescent vines provided both decoration and sustenance for herbivorous species. Alina sat at the high table alongside the royal couple, still wearing her Mark 7 armor, but with her helmet retracted to show proper respect. Her fusion core continued to pulse in harmony with the Crystal Palace's natural resonance, creating subtle light patterns that danced across the walls whenever she moved. Prince Kale leaned toward her during a lull in the formal toasts. Captain Vasquez, there is something you must understand about what occurred during our ceremony. The energy harmonics created by your armor have awakened something that has slept in our crystal matrices for over 1,000 years. Elena's engineering curiosity immediately engaged. What kind of something, Your Highness? Princess Lyra joined the conversation, her golden skin still glowing with residual energy from the ceremony. Ancient texts speak of the Iron Guardian, a protector who would arrive from the void wearing the shell of stars. The Guardian would bridge the gap between crystal harmony and mechanical precision, uniting disparate peoples under a new form of cooperation. Alina felt her stomach sink. The last thing she needed was to be mistaken for some kind of prophetic figure. Your Highnesses, I think there may be a misunderstanding. I'm just a soldier who wore the wrong outfit to your wedding. High Counselor HFY approached their table, carrying an ornate crystal tablet that pulsed with internal light. Captain, perhaps this will help clarify matters. These are readings taken during the ceremony, translated into mathematical concepts. Your people can understand. Lena studied the data displayed on the tablet, her enhanced vision processing the complex equations and energy patterns. What she saw made her breath catch. The harmonic frequencies generated by her armor's interaction with the Xanthari crystals had created standing wave patterns that shouldn't exist according to human physics. This is impossible, she muttered, running calculations through her armor's computer systems. These resonance cascades would require a power source orders of magnitude beyond what my fusion core can generate. Precisely, HFY replied with satisfaction. Your armor was not generating the energy, Captain. It was focusing and channeling power that already existed within our crystal network. The Iron Guardian prophecy speaks of one who can unite the living stone with the thinking metal. Before Alina could respond to this mystical interpretation of quantum mechanics, alarms began sounding throughout the Crystal Palace. Her armor's threat detection systems activated automatically, scanning for hostiles as red warning lights bathed the banquet hall. A younger Xanthari rushed into the hall, his crystalline robes flickering with stress patterns that Elena's social analysis software interpreted as panic. Your Highness, the Void Conclave fleet has dropped out of hyperspace. They're demanding the immediate cessation of the wedding ceremony and the expulsion of all alien guests. Alina was on her feet instantly, her armor's combat protocols engaging. As she assessed the tactical situation, how many ships? What's their weapons configuration? Prince Kale stood beside her, his earlier ceremonial demeanor replaced by the bearing of a trained military commander. Captain, the Void Conclave represents the most extreme isolationist faction in our galaxy. They believe that mixing with alien species pollutes the purity of their bloodlines. They chose today specifically to disrupt the alliance between our peoples, Princess Lyra added, her own diplomatic training evident. This wedding represents everything they oppose: cooperation, cultural exchange, and peaceful coexistence. Elena's mind shifted into tactical mode, processing threat assessments and defensive options with the speed and precision that had made her Earth's most decorated combat engineer. What defensive capabilities does the palace have? Crystal barriers. Can deflect energy weapons, HFY replied. But the Conclave uses kinetic projectiles, specifically designed to shatter our defenses. We have ceremonial guards, but they're trained for crowd control, not military assault. Elena activated her armor's external communication array and began scanning local defense networks. What she found was both impressive and inadequate. Xanthari had sophisticated early warning systems and strong passive defenses, but their peaceful nature had left them unprepared for the kind of coordinated military assault the Void Conclave was known for. Your Highness, I need tactical command authority over palace defenses, Lena said, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to making life-or-death decisions under pressure. My armor systems can interface with your crystal, network and coordinate a more effective defense. Prince Kale didn't hesitate. Granted. What do you need? Elena's hands moved across her armor's holographic interface, establishing secure links with the palace's defense grid. The crystal network responded to her touch with an eagerness that surprised her, as if it had been waiting for exactly this kind of integration. First, we evacuate non-combatants to the deepest chambers. Second, we use the crystal matrix to create a focused energy barrier that can absorb kinetic impacts. Third, we coordinate with any friendly vessels in the system to establish a defensive perimeter. As Elena worked, her armor's systems began displaying tactical information that should have been impossible to obtain. Somehow, the Crystal Network was providing her with real-time intelligence about the approaching Void Conclave fleet ship configurations, weapons, loadouts, even crew positions within individual vessels. How is this possible? She wondered aloud. HFY smiled with something approaching reverence. The crystals remember everything, Captain. Every ship that has ever visited this system leaves an energy signature in our matrix. Your armor is allowing us to access and interpret that information in ways we never could before. Elena filed this revelation away for later study and focused on the immediate threat. The Void Conclave fleet consisted of 12 warships arranged in a classic attack formation, designed to overwhelm the palace's defenses through concentrated firepower. Their ships were angular, aggressive designs that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Incoming transmission from the Conclave. Fleet announced the communications operator. Put it through, Prince Kale commanded. The holographic display showed a figure that made Elena's combat instincts immediately activate. The Conclave commander was a Veltar, one of the galaxy's most militaristic species. His black carapace bore the scars of countless battles, and his forearms each carried weapons that her armor's database identified as highly illegal in civilized space. Xanthari weaklings, the commander spoke in a voice like grinding metal. Your perverse ceremony has polluted the sacred harmony of this system. Surrender the alien contamination for cleansing, and we may permit your continued existence. Elena stepped into the hologram's field of view, her armor's intimidation protocols highlighting the weapon systems built into every surface. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of Galactic Council. Accords regarding territorial sovereignty, withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Veltar commander's mandibles clicked in what Elena's behavioral analysis software identified as amusement. A single human in a metal shell threatens the Void Conclave? Your species' arrogance knows no bounds. My species' capabilities might surprise you, Elena, replied calmly. Last chance to withdraw peacefully. Transmission cutoff followed. Immediately by energy readings that indicated the Conclave fleet was charging weapons, Elena's armor registered multiple target locks as the enemy ships prepared to open fire. "All guests to the lower chambers, now," Elena commanded, her voice carrying throughout the palace via the crystal communication network. "Defense stations, activate all barriers and prepare for impact." The first wave of attacks struck the palace with devastating force. Kinetic projectiles designed to shatter crystal defenses hammered against the energy barriers Elena had helped coordinate, while plasma beams sought to overwhelm the palace's power grid. But Elena's integration with the crystal network had created something neither side had expected. Instead of simply absorbing the attacks, the crystal barriers began converting kinetic energy into additional power for the defense grid. Elena's armor served as a processing node, calculating optimal energy distribution patterns and redirecting absorbed force into defensive systems that grew stronger with each impact. "Impossible," came Prince Kale's amazed voice over the communication network. "The barriers are actually strengthening under attack." Elena grinned inside her helmet as her engineering training combined with the crystal network's organic computing power to create solutions that neither human nor Zenthari technology could achieve alone. "Basic energy conservation, Your Highness. Instead of trying to stop the energy, we're redirecting it." The Void Conclave fleet regrouped for a second assault, this time focusing their fire on specific weak points in the palace's defenses. But Elena's armor had been analyzing their attack patterns, and the crystal network was learning to anticipate their targeting algorithms. "Captain," Princess Lyra's voice came through the communication system. "Sensors are detecting additional ships approaching from hyperspace. Unknown configuration." Elena's threat assessment systems immediately flagged the new arrivals as potential complications. But when the ships dropped out of hyperspace, she felt a surge of hope. The newcomers bore the distinctive hall markings of the Stellan Confederation. Princess Lyra's people had arrived to defend the wedding. "This is Admiral Corvash of the Confederation Fleet," came a new voice over the communication channels. "Void Conclave vessels, you are ordered to cease hostile actions immediately. We are prepared to defend our diplomatic mission with all necessary force." The tactical situation had suddenly become much more complex. Elena found herself at the center of a three-way standoff between the Crystal Palace's enhanced defenses, the Void Conclave's assault fleet, and the Confederation's rescue ships. Her armor's processing power was being pushed to its limits as she coordinated defensive patterns across multiple fleets and defense networks. Captain Prince Kale said, approaching Elena's position at the main tactical display. "Your presence here has transformed what should have been a tragic massacre into a defensive victory. But the Conclave will not retreat easily. They view any compromise as weakness." Elena studied the tactical display, watching as the three fleets maneuvered for position. Her military experience told her that this standoff could only end in one of two ways: complete victory for one side, or a negotiated settlement that preserved everyone's honor. "Your Highness, what would happen if we could demonstrate that cooperation between our species makes us stronger, not weaker? Something dramatic enough that even the Conclave couldn't ignore." Prince Kale's opalescent eyes brightened with understanding. "You're suggesting a practical demonstration of the Iron Guardian prophecy," Lena nodded, her mind already working through the technical challenges. "My armor systems have been interfacing with your crystal network in ways that shouldn't be possible. What if we could extend that integration to the Confederation fleet? Create a defensive network that spans multiple technologies and species?" Princess Lyra joined the conversation, her diplomatic training evident in her excited expression. "Unity demonstration that proves our alliance makes us stronger than any single faction. Captain, do you believe such integration is possible?" Elena's engineering mind was already calculating power requirements and interface protocols. "It's theoretically possible, but it would require unprecedented cooperation between three completely different technological paradigms. And there's no guarantee the systems would remain stable under combat stress. The alternative is a battle that will cost thousands of lives and accomplish nothing," Prince Kale pointed out. "Captain, you have already achieved the impossible once today. Will you help us do so again?" Elena looked around at the assembled alien dignitaries, all watching her with expressions of hope and determination. These beings had welcomed her despite her unconventional appearance, treated her with respect despite her lack of diplomatic training, and now they were asking her to help them prove that cooperation was stronger than isolation. "Let's make history," she said, activating her armor's experimental integration protocols. The next 30 minutes were the most challenging of Elena's career. Working with Xanthari crystal engineers and Stellan quantum technicians, she began linking her armor systems to both the Palace Defense Network and the Confederation fleet's tactical computers. The process required her to serve as a living interface between three incompatible technologies, translating human engineering principles into crystal harmonics and quantum field equations. Her armor's fusion core began operating at power levels that should have triggered emergency shutdowns. But the crystal network was somehow stabilizing the reactions, while the Stellan quantum fields provided additional processing capacity. Elena felt as though she was becoming part of something far larger than herself, a network of minds and machines working toward a common goal. "Integration at 60%, she reported, watching data streams that represented the combined defensive capabilities of three civilizations. Crystal barriers are adapting to quantum field fluctuations. Stellan targeting systems are synchronizing with Xanthari harmonic sensors." The Void Conclave fleet, apparently sensing that something significant was occurring, launched their most powerful assault yet. Energy weapons that could crack planets focused their fire on the palace, while kinetic projectiles capable of shattering moons hammered against the defensive barriers. But now those barriers were more than simple crystal formations. They were hybrid constructs that combined the organic adaptability of Xanthari biotechnology, the quantum coherence of Stellan science, and the brute force engineering of human military hardware. The attack struck the barriers and simply disappeared. Not absorbed, not deflected, but converted into useful energy that strengthened the entire network. The Void Conclave's most devastating weapons were being transformed into power sources for their enemies' defenses. Admiral Corvash, Elena transmitted to the Confederation fleet, "Your ships are now integrated into the Palace defense grid. You should be seeing tactical data that shouldn't be possible to obtain." "Confirmed, Captain Vasquez," came the Admiral's amazed reply. "We have real-time intelligence on every Conclave vessel, including their internal systems. This level of coordination exceeds our most advanced theoretical models." Elena smiled inside her helmet as she watched the tactical display. The Void Conclave fleet was still formidable, but they were facing an enemy they couldn't understand, a network of cooperation that made each component stronger than it could ever be alone. "Conclave fleet," she transmitted on all frequencies. "You are outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting against an enemy that grows stronger with every attack you make. Withdraw now, and we'll consider this a training exercise. Continue fighting, and you'll face the full consequences of unified galactic cooperation." The response came not from the Conclave commander, but from the fleet's political officer, a figure even more scarred and battle-hardened than the military leaders. "Iron Guardian." The voice carried notes of religious awe. "The ancient texts speak of your coming. We did not expect to find you allied with crystal singers and star weavers." Elena blinked in surprise. "Even the isolationist extremists knew the prophecy. I'm just a soldier doing my job. But if that job involves proving that cooperation makes us all stronger, then I'll do it with everything I have." The Conclave fleet began powering down their weapons, much to Elena's relief. She had been prepared to demonstrate the full defensive capabilities of their integrated network, but avoiding bloodshed was always preferable to winning battles. "The Iron Guardian has spoken," the political officer transmitted. "We withdraw to consider the implications of this day. Know that others will come, Guardian. Others who will not be swayed by demonstrations of unity, as the Void Conclave." Fleet disappeared into hyperspace. Elena felt the integrated network beginning to stabilize into something unprecedented in galactic history. Her armor remained connected to both the Xanthari crystal matrix and the Stellan quantum grid, creating a permanent link between three civilizations. "Captain," Prince Kale said, his voice filled with wonder, "you have given us something beyond our greatest hopes. This network you've created, it's not just a defensive alliance. It's the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization." Elena looked around at the celebration that was resuming in the Crystal Palace. where beings from dozens of species mingled freely under the protection of integrated technology that proved cooperation was stronger than isolation. Her mission had been to represent Earth's military excellence at a royal wedding. Instead, she had helped create the blueprint for galactic unity. The real work was just beginning. The harmony of steel and star 6 months after the royal wedding. That changed galactic history. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the newly constructed Unity Station, watching construction crews from 17 different species work together to build something that had never existed before, a truly integrated galactic civilization. Her Mark 7 armor had undergone significant modifications since that transformative day on Zenthros. The basic human engineering remained, but Zenthari crystal matrices now grew throughout the internal structure. While Stellan quantum processors enhanced her computational capabilities beyond anything previously thought possible, she had become a living symbol of technological cooperation. Though she still thought of herself as simply a soldier doing her job, the station itself was a marvel of integrated design. Zenthari crystal formations provided both structure and data storage, growing in mathematical patterns that served as living computers. Stellan quantum field generators created zero-point energy sources that powered systems designed by human engineers to specifications that no single species could have achieved alone. Ambassador Vasquez, came a familiar voice behind her. Lena turned to see Admiral Harrison approaching, his expression showing the pride and bewilderment he'd been wearing since reading her mission reports. The Galactic Council is ready for your presentation. Elena still felt uncomfortable with her new title. 6 months ago, she had been Captain Vasquez's combat engineer. Now, she was Earth's first galactic cultural ambassador, a position created specifically to formalize her role as a bridge between species. The promotion had come with increased responsibilities, enhanced authority, and a great deal more paperwork than she preferred. "Any word from the Outer Rim territories, Admiral?" she asked as they walked toward the council chambers. Admiral Harrison's expression grew serious. 3 more systems have reported Void Conclave activity. They're not launching direct attacks, but they're spreading propaganda about the dangers of technological contamination and species corruption. Intelligence suggests they're building towards something significant. Elena's integrated sensor systems automatically began accessing Unity stations, intelligence networks, processing data streams from hundreds of sources across known space. The information painted a concerning picture. The Void Conclave had been recruiting allies among other isolationist factions, building a coalition that viewed the Unity Station as an existential threat to their philosophy of racial purity.
How
Many species have they convinced to join their cause? Lena asked, though her enhanced processing power was already calculating the answer from available data. 12 confirmed, possibly 15, Admiral Harrison replied. They're calling themselves the Purity Alliance now, and they've been very effective at spreading fear about the consequences of technological integration. Some species are genuinely concerned that joining our network will cause them to lose their cultural identity. Lena considered this as they entered the council chambers, a vast space where representatives from 47 different species gathered to debate the future of galactic civilization. The chamber itself demonstrated the principles they were fighting to protect. Zenthari crystal acoustics ensured that every being could hear perfectly regardless of their auditory capabilities, while Stellan translation matrices allowed perfect communication between species whose languages had evolved on completely different principles. At the center of the chamber stood Elena's usual position, a unique interface station that allowed her to simultaneously access human tactical databases, Zenthari harmonic networks, and Stellan quantum processing systems. From this position, she could coordinate responses that drew on the combined knowledge and capabilities of multiple civilizations. Distinguished representatives, Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the crystal acoustics, we face a challenge that threatens everything we've built together. The Purity Alliance claims that our cooperation weakens us, that integration destroys individual identity. Today, I want to share with you the results of the Harmony Protocol, our 6-month experiment in collaborative enhancement. Elena activated the holographic display systems, showing data that represented achievements no single species could have accomplished alone. Human engineering had been enhanced by Xanthari biotechnology to create ships that could repair themselves during combat. Stellan quantum science had been combined with human computational systems to develop faster-than-light communication networks that operated in real time across galactic distances. In 6 months of cooperation, Alina continued, we have achieved technological advances that would have taken each of our species centuries to develop independently. More importantly, we have done so while preserving the unique characteristics that make each culture valuable. Representative Corvash of the Stellan Confederation stood to address the assembly. Ambassador Vasquez speaks truth. Quantum research has been revolutionized by exposure to human engineering principles. Yet our fundamental approach to science remains unchanged. We have become more than we were, not something different than we were. High Counselor HFY added his support from the Xanthar delegation. The crystal networks sing with new harmonies since the integration began, but the old songs remain as beautiful as ever. The harmony grows richer, not simpler. Alina felt a surge of gratitude for the support of her earliest allies. But she knew the real challenge lay in convincing the undecided species. Representatives from nearly a dozen worlds sat in careful neutrality, weighing the benefits of cooperation against the risks of losing their independence. I understand the concerns many of you have, Alina said, addressing the neutral delegates directly. Change is frightening, especially when it involves sharing your most advanced technologies with species you've barely begun to understand. But I want you to consider what we're really offering, not the absorption of your cultures into some homogeneous mass, but the enhancement of your unique capabilities through cooperative development. Representative Vekvar of the Mercantile Coalition, a spider-like being whose species had remained neutral throughout the integration debates, rose on his 6 legs to speak. Ambassador, your words are reassuring, but actions carry more weight than promises. The Purity Alliance claims that integration is merely the first step toward human domination of the galaxy. How do we know that Earth does not seek to impose its military culture on all cooperative species? Alina had been expecting this question. It was the core fear that the Purity Alliance exploited in their propaganda campaigns. Representative Vekvar, I can only offer you evidence of our behavior over the past 6 months. Earth has shared its most advanced military technologies freely with allies, has accepted modifications to our equipment based on alien science, and has placed human officers under the command of non-human authorities when their expertise was superior. She activated a new holographic display, showing the organizational structure of Unity Station's defense forces. Our integrated fleet is commanded by Admiral Corvash of the Stellan Confederation, with tactical coordination provided by Xanthari, crystal networks and logistics handled by human efficiency systems. No single species controls the network. We all contribute what we do best. Representative Velinara of the Scientific Collective, a crystalline being whose species specialized in theoretical research, projected her thoughts through the translation matrix. The mathematical models are compelling, Ambassador. Integration produces exponential growth in capability. But mathematics cannot account for the psychological impact of such rapid change. Many species fear losing their essential nature in the process of becoming something greater. Lena nodded, understanding the deeper concern. That fear is natural and reasonable, Representative Velinara. But consider this. 6 months ago, I was a human soldier, wearing human armor and following human military doctrine. Today, my equipment incorporates technology from 3 species. My decision-making processes have been enhanced by exposure to alien thought patterns, and my understanding of the universe has expanded beyond anything I could have achieved alone. She paused, letting her enhanced sensors read the emotional responses of the assembled delegates. But I am still fundamentally human. I still think like an engineer, still approach problems with the systematic methodology my species developed over millennia of technological advancement. Integration has made me more myself, not less. The chamber fell silent as representatives processed her words. Alina could feel the tide of opinion shifting. but she knew that philosophical arguments alone wouldn't be enough to counter the Purity Alliance's growing influence. Distinguished representatives, she continued, I believe actions speak louder than words. Therefore, I propose a demonstration that will settle this debate once and for all. Give me permission to lead a joint task force to the Kepler disputed zone, where Purity Alliance forces have been conducting raids against neutral shipping. Let us show the galaxy what integrated cooperation can accomplish when faced with organized extremism. Admiral Harrison stepped forward, his expression mixing pride with concern. Ambassador, the Kepler zone is heavily defended. Intelligence suggests the Purity Alliance has assembled a fleet of over 200 vessels, including several Dreadnought-class ships equipped with weapons specifically designed to disrupt integrated technology networks. Alina smiled, her enhanced processing systems already calculating tactical scenarios. Admiral, 6 months ago, 200 ships would have been an insurmountable challenge for any single species. But we're not a single species anymore. We're something new, something stronger than the sum of our parts. Representative Korvash stood again, his quantum-enhanced voice carrying harmonics that conveyed absolute confidence. The Stellan Confederation pledges 30 vessels to Ambassador Vasquez's task force. Our crews have been training with integrated systems for months. It is time to test their capabilities in actual combat. High Counselor Zephihai's crystal crown pulsed with patterns that Lena's enhanced vision translated as enthusiastic agreement. Zenthros will contribute 20 vessels, plus the full support of our crystal communication network. The harmony of cooperation must be defended against the discord of isolation. Alina felt a surge of hope as other representatives began pledging support. The Mercantile Coalition offered logistics vessels equipped with rapid repair systems. The Scientific Collective provided sensor ships with detection capabilities that bordered on prescience. Even some previously neutral species stepped forward with offers of assistance. Within hours, Lena found herself appointed commander of the largest integrated fleet in galactic history, 147 vessels from 23 different species, all equipped with hybrid technology and crew training programs developed through the Harmony Protocol. The journey to the Kepler zone took 3 days, during which Alina worked around the clock to coordinate fleet movements across technological paradigms that should have been incompatible. Human tactical doctrine was enhanced by Zenthari intuitive combat patterns and Stellan quantum prediction algorithms. The result was a command structure that could adapt to changing battlefield conditions, faster than any single species fleet could match. As they approached the disputed zone, Lena's sensors detected the Purity Alliance fleet exactly where intelligence had predicted. 237 vessels arranged in a defensive formation around a captured space station that had been converted into a mobile command base. All ships, this is Ambassador Vasquez, Alina, transmitted across the integrated communication network. We are here to demonstrate that cooperation is stronger than isolation, that diversity creates resilience, and that the future belongs to those willing to build bridges rather than walls. The response from the Purity Alliance came immediately, a transmission from the fleet's commander. A Veltar warrior whose scars told the story of a lifetime spent fighting anything different from his own species. Iron Guardian, the commander, spoke using the title that had somehow spread throughout the galaxy. You bring mongrel fleets to face the pure strength of united purpose. Your abomination technology cannot stand against the focused power of genetic perfection. Alina studied the tactical displays, watching as her integrated sensor networks provided real-time intelligence on every enemy vessel. The Purity Alliance ships were indeed powerful, but they relied on overwhelming firepower rather than tactical flexibility. Commander, you have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully, Alina replied. Release the station and return to your territories. Continue this path and face the consequences of fighting against unity itself. The Purity Alliance response was predictable, a massive, concentrated assault designed to overwhelm Elena's fleet. Through sheer destructive force, energy weapons that could shatter planets focused their fire on the Unity fleet's lead vessels, while kinetic projectiles sought to break their formation through concentrated impact. But Alina had learned from the battle at the Crystal Palace. Instead of trying to withstand the attacks, her integrated fleet began converting the incoming energy into tactical advantages. Xanthari crystal matrices absorbed plasma blasts and redirected the power to enhance defensive systems. Stellan quantum fields created interference patterns that turned kinetic weapons against their own launching vessels. Human engineering provided the computational frameworks that made such complex energy manipulation possible in real time. All ships, advance. By sections, Alina commanded, watching as her fleet moved through the enemy formation like water flowing around stones. Remember, we're not here to destroy the Purity Alliance. We're here to prove that cooperation makes us stronger. The battle that followed redefined space combat for the entire galaxy. Elena's integrated fleet fought with a coordination that seemed almost telepathic. Each ship anticipating the needs of its neighbors while contributing its unique capabilities to the overall tactical picture. Human vessels provided covering fire, while Xanthari ships used their crystal technology to heal damaged allied vessels. Stellan quantum manipulators created spatial distortions that confused enemy targeting systems, while scientific collective sensor ships provided perfect intelligence on enemy movements. The Purity Alliance, despite their numerical superiority and powerful weapons, found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't understand. Every tactic they employed was countered by some combination of technologies they had never seen work together. Their formations, designed to maximize the firepower of single-species fleets, proved inadequate against opponents who could adapt in real time to changing circumstances. Within 6 hours, the battle was over. The Purity Alliance fleet had been systematically disabled rather than destroyed, their weapons offline. Their engines dead, their crews unharmed but completely helpless. Elena's integrated fleet had suffered minimal casualties while achieving a victory that would be studied by military historians for generations. Purity Alliance vessels, Alina transmitted as her fleet secured the captured station. You have experienced the power of cooperative diversity. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are safe. You will be escorted to neutral territory and released unharmed. Take this message back to your leaders. Isolation leads to stagnation, while cooperation leads to growth. But even as Alina savored the tactical victory, her enhanced sensors detected something that filled her with concern. Long-range scanners showed massive fleet movements throughout Purity Alliance territory. The extremists were not retreating, but instead mobilizing everything they had for one final, desperate assault. Admiral Harrison, she transmitted to Unity Station, the Purity Alliance is preparing for total war. They're massing fleets from across their territory, over 1,000 ships, including vessels I've never seen before. The response came not just from Admiral Harrison, but from representatives of the entire Galactic Council. Ambassador, you have proven that cooperation works. Now we need you to prove that it can survive the ultimate test. The future of galactic civilization may depend on what happens in the next few weeks. Elena looked around at her integrated fleet. Vessels from 23 species working together with a harmony that would have seemed impossible just months before. They had proven that diversity created strength, that cooperation enhanced rather than diminished individual capabilities. Now they would have to prove it on a scale that would determine the future of the galaxy itself. All ships, Alina commanded, set course for Unity Station. It's time to show the galaxy what we can accomplish when we all work together. As her fleet jumped to hyperspace, Alina reflected on the strange path that had brought her here. 6 months ago, she had been a soldier, attending a wedding. Now she was leading a revolution that would either unite the galaxy in unprecedented cooperation or tear it apart in the greatest war in recorded history. The universe, she had learned, had a sense of humor about giving people exactly what they needed rather than what they expected. Alina Vasquez had needed to become more than a soldier to help create something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The final test was just beginning, and the outcome would echo through the stars for millennia to come. But Alina faced it with the same pragmatic courage that had carried her through every challenge of her military career. Enhanced now by the wisdom and capabilities of dozens of species working toward a common goal. The harmony of steel and stars was about to face its greatest symphony, and Alina Vasquez would conduct the orchestra that would determine whether cooperation or isolation shaped the galaxy's future.
Oh,
The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what humanity and its allies could accomplish together.